Oh, good lord. 2023 had so many damn
Games.
What is up, everyone? IPlayVidya here, back at it again with my annual favorite games of the year video. Now, like I mentioned off the top, 2023 had a lot of games. So many damn games. It was such a great year for gaming. It truly was. I truly believe that there was something for everyone this year. If there wasn't a single game that caught your eye this year, you weren't looking hard enough. I genuinely believe there was something for everyone. There were so many great games this year. And with that brings a few pros and cons to this video. The pros being, this is one of the longest lists I've had for one of these videos. There are 10 2023 titles that I played this year. There are four entries on my this year but not category. Now, where we fell short is the honorable mentions, which were the games that weren't released this year, because there were so many damn games that were released this year. There were three, but there were still three honorable mentions, making this a grand total of 17 games I am going to talk about this year. 17. There were a ridiculous number of games this year. But, like I mentioned, that comes with some cons. Not only does that mean I'm gonna end up making a longer video, I already know I can't. So, some of these games I just have so much to talk about, and once I start talking, sometimes it's hard for me to stop talking. But with that also brought another downside, is the fact that some of these games I still haven't finished. Half of the games that were released this year that I played, I still haven't finished. Now some of them I've made enough progress in, I can genuinely judge, where my feelings are gonna lie. Like last year I gave, God of War Ragnarok the #1 pick, even though at the time I hadn't finished it, just because I knew that it was going to be a game I was going to love, and I was right. So some of these games on this list, I still just have a very good feeling about that, like, I'm gonna enjoy these games no matter where they end up, landing. So I'm not too worried about the fact that I haven't finished these games, whereas some of them, they're a bit lower on the list just because, I haven't played as much, and I'm not quite sure where I'm gonna land on them, but what I've seen of them, I do enjoy. So anyway, with that big long-ass intro out of the way, let's not waste any time, and let's get into these games. So first we're going to start off with the this year but not category, which is typically reserved for remasters or new ports of games that were released this year, but technically the game itself was initially released before this year, being 2023. And usually this category is reserved for games that I played for the first time this year, but there are two games on this list that I have definitely played before, but they're games I greatly enjoy and I want to give a special shout out to. So the first game on this list is going to be Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this game didn't get a new remaster by any means. This game didn't get a new port. However, what this game did get was Update 2.0. And what Update 2.0 did was essentially completely rework the gameplay, to where I've started a fresh playthrough of this game in anticipation for the Phantom Liberty expansion, which I haven't gotten to yet, so you won't see that on the list later. But I did start a fresh playthrough of Cyberpunk, and it genuinely feels like I'm playing a new game. Like, obviously, it's the same story, the same characters, the same setting, the same visuals, all that, but the gameplay just feels so different. It's like I've never touched this game before. Like, obviously, I know all the story beats, right? I know all the characters, it's something I'm very used to, but the gameplay, I swear to God, it feels like a totally new game, plus all the little extras they've added since. And now they're introducing Update 2.1, which is adding even more into the game. And it's insane how much Cyberpunk has changed since its initial launch. Obviously, its launch was god-awful, but I will still say I loved this game at launch. I played this game at launch on PC, mind you. Obviously, those of you who played on past-gen consoles, especially PS4, definitely had a rough time of it, and I'm not gonna try to cover that up at all. No, they had a fucking horrific launch. But I played it on PC at launch, and I genuinely love this game. Even in the face of all its flaws, I genuinely loved this game. And now where we are in the current day, in the current state of the game, where it's much more polished and even reworked to the point where I feel like this is truly the game they wanted to put out at launch. I can't recommend it enough. I genuinely cannot recommend Cyberpunk enough. Obviously, I gave it props when the year it came out, but I gotta give it props again. So I gotta say, even if you played Cyberpunk in the past and you're wondering if it's genuinely worth a fresh playthrough of it, I definitely say it is. If you're someone who hasn't played Cyberpunk yet and you've been looking for a time to get into it because maybe it's kind of piqued your interest, but you've wanted to wait till it's a bit more of a polished experience, I think now is the perfect time to jump onto it. I genuinely believe now is the perfect time to give this game a chance. I don't know what more they've got planned for updates in the future, if anything, but I still think right here, right now is your best opportunity to get into this game and get like the true full experience of what it has to offer. And then the next game on the this year but not category that I have played before, but once again want to give a special shout out to, is Song of Memories. Now, for those of you who don't know, Song of Memories was the very first visual novel I ever played on this channel. So if you're one of the people that came here because of Muv-Luv or Umineko or Clanad or any other visual novel playthrough, just know that those playthroughs may not have existed if it weren't for Song of Memories. It is because that initial playthrough performed so well compared to everything else I had at that point that I started introducing more visual novel playthroughs onto the channel, to the point where we are today, where the channel is primarily visual novel playthroughs. So obviously I have a bit of bias towards this game, but I do genuinely believe it is a good game. Objectively, is it a 10 out of 10 amazing experience? No. I'll be fair and say no. I'll put my bias aside and say no. It is definitely not perfect. There are definitely some issues. There definitely is an adopted sibling romance route. I'm not going to ignore that. That is not something I'm for, especially if you watched my original playthrough of it, you know that's definitely not something I'm for. But this is a genuinely good story. Their whole rhythm game-based combat is still funky, and I still recommend you skip that. But I do believe overall the game itself is still very good. So I highly recommend it. If you own a PlayStation 4 or 5 or a Switch, please consider supporting the game. Alright, but now for the this year but nots that I haven't played, the first of which being The Shell Part 1 Inferno. Now, for those of you who don't know, this was the remaster of the visual novel Kara no Shoujo, which was released several years ago, I believe. And it's good. It's really solid. I gave it like an 8 out of 10. There was nothing it did that really wowed me. The story itself, it was a murder mystery story. It was good. I liked it. I wasn't wowed with it. Same with like the characters. There were two characters that I really loved. The main protagonist and of course my homegirl Tojiko. But the rest of the cast was just really good. Once again, wasn't wowed, but it was good. Soundtrack, once again, really solid. Nothing felt out of place. It helped amplify the moments it needed to, but I wasn't wowed with any of it. Just really good. So overall, it's a really solid game, really good. But I won't say it's anything that's going to wow you, but then again, maybe it will. For different strokes for different folks. If you're thinking about picking it up, I do recommend it. And last, but certainly not least, is a game that I might catch a little flack for. But I stand by my support of this game. I genuinely have a lot of fun with it. So all my disclaimers out of the way. The last game on the this year but not category is Goddess of Victory, Nikke. Now, for those of you who don't know, Nikke is a mobile game that was released in November of 22, but they did drop a PC port in February of this year, which is the version I played. Now, for those of you who don't know, Nikke is, unfortunately, a gacha game. Now, I will acknowledge, yes, gacha games have predatory monetization practices. I'm not going to pretend they don't. I'm not going to sweep that under the rug. And I'm not going to try to pretend that Nikke does anything different or that they're more generous than any other gacha game or that their practices are less predatory compared to other gacha games. I'm not going to try to pretend that's the case at all. But I do genuinely love this game. I have been playing this game every single fucking day since February. As of this recording, that's 10 months of daily play because I genuinely love this game. I was just playing this game an hour ago before I started recording. And guess what? What time is it now? It's like damn near 2 o'clock. So guess what? The daily reset just happened. Guess what I'm going to be doing after I finish recording this video? I genuinely love this game. I've had a lot of fun with it. The gameplay itself is fun. There's several different game modes you can play. The story is what really hooked me in, because the reason I started playing this game was because they did a collab with Chainsaw Man. Now, for those of you who don't know, I fucking love Chainsaw Man, easily my favorite manga I've ever read. So, when they announced they were doing a collab with Chainsaw Man, I decided, fuck it, I'll check out the game, see what it's about. And before you can start pulling for these limited edition event units, you have to first complete the tutorial, which I believe you have to play through the first 3 chapters of the campaign, which is where I fell in love with this game. The campaign is actually genuinely really fucking good. It is really well written. I am very invested into this story. It is phenomenal. And as the months have gone by, I've experienced more and more of their events, and their events have been really fucking good. Whether it's silly, goofy events that are meant to just make you chuckle and just supposed to be a good time, phenomenally well done. Or whether it's these hard-hitting emotional events that really tug on your heartstrings, they've been phenomenal. They've been amazing. I've really enjoyed the events that they put out. I think their writing, 9 times out of 10, is really fucking good. Have there been some misses? Yeah, sure, but no one's perfect. The actual gameplay, I have a lot of fun with. I have a lot of fun crafting teams for all the various game modes, trying to figure out what works where. Obviously, if you have all the meta units, you can slap together a meta team, but I like having a diverse group of teams. I like trying to use other units I wouldn't typically use before, I like trying to switch it up and have fun with it, and I genuinely do. And like I said, there's several game modes to try out. There's obviously the main campaign, there's the towers, there's the PvP arena, there's the sim room, there's interception, there's various raids, co-op raids, solo raids, union raids, all these various boss fights you can replay. It's so much damn fun. I genuinely stand by it. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, have you put any money into the game? Yes, I have, but I will say I do believe it is still a fun experience for free-to-play players as well, because I played this game for 3 months before I ever put a single cent into the game, because I didn't want a repeat of what happened with Genshin, right? I played Genshin for like 2 months, thought it was alright. I did put some money into it, but have I played the game since? Hell no. Do I ever plan on playing Genshin again? No. So I didn't want to repeat of that. I didn't want to put money into a game that I was eventually going to drop. So that's why I played this game for 3 months before putting a single penny into it. And I genuinely had fun with those entire 3 months. Not a single moment during those 3 months was I like, yeah, I'm getting kind of tired of this. I think I'm going to drop it. I'm not enjoying this. No. Every day. Kept coming back every single day. And I've never regretted it since. The moment I did start, paying for some things here and there, I haven't regretted it, because I've genuinely had so much fun with this game. Now, I know some people might have, issues with, gacha practices and whatnot. They're very easily swayed by it, so they try to avoid gacha games. I totally understand. And some people just don't want to play gacha games on principle, which, once again, I totally understand. I totally get it. But for those of you who are willing to give it a try or are somewhat interested in it, I do recommend it. Of the gacha games I've played in the past, this is easily my favorite one, and easily the one I've stuck with the longest. I absolutely love this game. It's so much fucking fun. For those of you who are willing to give it a chance, I highly, highly recommend it. But with the this year but nots out of the way, it is time to get into my favorite games of 2023 that were released in 2023. Now, like I said earlier, there are 10 games on this list, half of which I have not truly finished. But some of them have just been so damn good, I have to give them a shout out regardless. Now, we're going to start, as per usual, we're going to start at number 10, work our way to the top. Coming in at number 10, I just want to throw a disclaimer out there. The reason this game is so low has nothing to do with the quality of the game, alright? The reason this game is so low is because it's easily the game I've made the least progress in. I might have a bit more time in it compared to others, but easily the least progress I've made in the game. So it's the one I probably have the most unsure feelings about because there's still so much more of this game I have yet to see. So before anyone takes up their torches and pitchforks, let me just say I'm not putting this game this low is not saying it's a bad game or even saying that it's not as good as some of these other games. Just saying that I haven't played enough of it to put it any higher on this list. So with that long ass disclaimer out of the way, I will say that number 10 is Baldur's Gate 3. Now, Baldur's Gate 3 is not one I ever planned on playing. It's not one I expected to play. Even when it initially came out and everyone was ranting and raving about it, I still wasn't quite convinced. Now, you might be wondering, well, what did convince you? Well, I'm a very simple man. I saw people online saying, hey, the love interests in this game are pretty fucking great. And really, that's all I needed to hear. A fantasy game with love interests? I'm hooked. I've been dying for a fix of something similar to Dragon Age, right? Dragon Age Inquisition came out in what, 2014? Fucking 2014. Damn near 9 years already. So it's been fucking 9 years now. Well, I want a game in the same vein as that. Now obviously Baldur's Gate 3 as a game plays entirely different, but a fantasy setting with some interesting love interests. Now you have my attention. So yes, did I initially buy this game just for the love interest? I won't deny I did. But have I enjoyed the game? Have I actually been enjoying the game? Yes. Now, like I said, I haven't made very much progress. I haven't even finished Act 1 yet. I have not even finished Act 1, but I genuinely have been enjoying this game. My only issue, which isn't an issue with the game, it's more so an issue with myself, is the fact that I like to explore any and everything that a game has to offer. And with Baldur's Gate 3, there's a lot to explore. There's so many small things, like just collecting shit. I am looting any and everything, which means that my playtime has, I've put a lot of time into this game, but a lot of it has just been looking around and looting shit. I spend so much time just looting areas because I'm like, I want everything. I want every little piece. Every little schmeckle I can get out of it, I want. Alright? I'm trying to make my money back. I'm trying to go to these merchants and be like, hey, look at all this random bullshit I pilfered, give me money. I've always been like that when it comes to a game like this. Like, I am looting any and everything and just exploring any and everything. Not even when it comes to loot. Like, oh, look at all these plants over here I could harvest. Yeah, better take those. Do I ever actually craft anything with those? I haven't yet, but who knows? Might as well pick them up. You never know. So that's definitely something that's distracted me and kept me from making even more progress in this game. But also, it's just been a time thing. There have been other games that come out this year that I've been a lot more interested in, so I've given those higher priority. I've put a lot more time into those, and Baldur's Gate 3 has kind of fallen by the wayside. But I do want to play this game. I do want to finish it. Fuck, I want to replay this game. I want to see what other, how other classes play. I want to see what other story decisions I can make. I want to explore some of the other love interests. There's so many more things I want to do in this game. It's just that there's so much to this game that it's daunting to jump back into it when there's so many shorter experiences I know I can finish up, more quickly. But I do believe it's a good game. As of this recording, the game awards haven't happened yet. But if this game did win Game of the Year, I would 100% support it. It's definitely a good game. It's definitely received a lot of positive attention. Definitely worth it. But like I said, it's low on this list simply because I personally have not made much progress in it. And coming in at number 9 is Blasphemous 2. Now, similar to Baldur's Gate 3, the reason this game is as low on the list as it is I haven't made near enough progress in it to give like a real accurate review of it, right? Now, I have put like a good 10 hours into it. I've definitely, put some time into this game, and I feel like I've done enough to where I can talk about it. But in the grand scheme of things, compared to other games on this list, I have not made enough progress to really accurately judge it. I have not made enough progress to where I feel like I could put it any higher up on this list. But out of what I have played, I've really been enjoying. Now, the first Blasphemous was a game that kind of came out of nowhere for me. It wasn't one I had ever really looked into, it wasn't one I was super hyped on playing, but it was on sale one day, I copped it, decided to play it, and I quickly fell in love with it. So of course I was very much excited for the sequel, and so far the sequel has not disappointed. The art style I absolutely love, and it's only continued to improve in the second game. I love the pixel art style, but also like the painted CGs that they have been really fucking great. The gameplay has been a lot of fun. Obviously with a game like this, it can be a bit frustrating at first, but obviously the more you play the game, the more you start to understand the enemies. It becomes a lot easier to get through certain areas to further explore. I like how there's like several weapons you can choose from now. When you start the game, you have to like select your starter weapon. It's almost like a fucking Pokemon scenario. There's 3 different weapons, like pick one. You can unlock the others later, but you can only start with one. That's really interesting because it affects how you progress through the game, because each weapon has its own unique abilities, which will allow you to make different progress in different areas. So like weapon A will be able to progress in this dungeon a lot easier, will allow you to progress further in this dungeon, but if you don't have weapon A, you're not going to make any progress at all, whereas weapon B will help you make a lot more progress over in this dungeon, but you won't make any progress over in that dungeon because you don't have weapon C, so on and so forth. So it gives people a different way of going through it, because obviously you go through different dungeons first, you're going to unlock different items that give you different abilities, different power-ups, all of that. It's very fun. I love how people can really just play it how they want. Like there's the super light weapon, there's the big heavy weapon, there's the more medium weapon, medium speed, medium damage kind of weapon. The enemies, there's a lot of like, there's some recurring enemy types from the first game, but also there's plenty of new ones that it's fun to learn how the enemies function and whatnot. But at this point I'm rambling and repeating myself. Point being, fun game. I definitely want to play more of it, definitely want to finish it at some point. But like I said, just haven't made enough progress to where I feel good putting it any higher on the list. But like I said, do not get me wrong, good game so far, very good game. Coming in at number 8 is, you guessed it, yet another game I have not finished. And that is Fire Emblem Engage. Now, of all the unfinished games on this list, this is easily the one I've made the most progress in. I've put 70 fucking hours into this game, and I still haven't finished it. I started streaming this game back in May. I've done 11 streams of this game, which were at the minimum 5 hours long. I've dumped a lot of time into this game, and I'm still not finished. I do want to finish it at some point, because I have started it as a full playthrough and I want to finish it as a full playthrough. But like I mentioned previously, there have been so many other games that just took my attention away from it, and I haven't been able to come back to it yet. Now, the game itself has been fun. It's been enjoyable. Compared to other Fire Emblem games I've played, like Three Houses, I think is way better than this one. Awakening was definitely better. Is Engage a bad game? No, if it were a bad game, it wouldn't be on this list in the first place. I definitely enjoyed it more than like Fates. That's not a high bar to set, but I definitely have enjoyed it more than Fates. I don't like that the cast is primarily children, like minors, people underage. It's a bit weird. There are some adults, for sure. There are some adults, and I'm glad there are, because it feels really weird being this 1,000-year-old dragon and my army of children. That was kind of off-putting at first, for sure. But the gameplay's fun. It's classic Fire Emblem gameplay. It hasn't really switched up the formula too much. They've added the emblem rings, which is their unique little feature they add to the game, which is fine. I'm not really in love with the feature, but it's okay. It's a nice little nod to several other entries in the series. Obviously, I'm not a longtime Fire Emblem fan, so I may not connect with a lot of these emblems, but there's definitely some of them that's like, it's neat to see them in the games again. Some of them, it's neat to see them brought to, the 3D sphere. It's interesting. I like it. The story itself has been alright. Once again, it's just a classic hero saves the world kind of story. It's not one I'm super in love with yet, and at this point, I don't think I'm going to be super in love with it. Like I said, I put 70 hours into this game. Not saying I dislike the story, but it's alright. It's just solid, like a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's not wowing me, but it's okay. The cast of this game, like I said earlier, it's kind of weirded out by it's mostly minors, but there's definitely some solid characters that I enjoy, but compared to like the cast we've had in other Fire Emblem games, this cast feels kind of weak. This roster of characters, the roster of units available, their actual personalities just seem kind of weak. You can't, I also don't like the fact that you can't like pair up units anymore, but once again, I think that comes with the territory of they're all minors. I don't want to get off that point. Like, it's a very important point to understand. Like, obviously you don't want to be shipping 2 minors together. That is kind of weird. Like, obviously, hey, maybe let's not put these minors in romantic situations. I understand that. I definitely do. But also, that's part of what I enjoyed in like Awakening and the post-time skip of 3 Houses. Is like, yeah, you can put these characters together and really watch their interactions, and I don't know. I guess it's not that important of a thing. I think I'm more so just weirded out by the fact that the majority of the roster is minors. I think that's just what keeps getting to me. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a fine game. I'm sure I'll enjoy how it all ends, but it's fine. At the end of the day, it's just fine. So that's why this one is ranked as low, not because of the amount of progress I made, but just more so the actual quality of the game. It's a good game, like I said, otherwise would not be on this list. But compared to other Fire Emblem games, it just does not hit as hard. Alright, and coming in at number 7 is Mortal Kombat 1. I've been a long-time fan of Mortal Kombat, definitely not the longest time fan. I've been playing since the PS2 era of games. My first game was Armageddon, and eventually I did go back and play Deadly Alliance and Deception, and I've been playing since then MK9, MKX, MK11. I've played them all, and I've had my varying opinions on them. So I was somewhat excited for Mortal Kombat 1. I was kind of let down with Mortal Kombat 11. I really enjoyed Mortal Kombat X. Had a lot of fun with that one. Played that one for hours. Mortal Kombat 11, I finished the campaign and never touched it again. So I was very wary of Mortal Kombat 1. I really was. But eventually, I was convinced. They had shown me enough to where I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll play it. I'll give it a chance. And I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. Like I said, I started my Mortal Kombat journey with the PS2 era of games, and this game was like a big love letter to that era of the Mortal Kombat series, which I greatly enjoyed. The final chapter in the campaign, it's kind of divisive among the fans, but I fucking loved it. That was amazing. Phenomenal. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was fucking awesome. I loved it. As far as the gameplay goes, because at the end of the day, this is a fighting game, and the one thing you should really focus on is the gameplay of it. It's a bit slower, but, it's still fun. One thing I will say, compared to the other fighting game on this list, is I like the availability of, extras, if that makes any sense. You can unlock extra skins and gear pieces for the characters just by playing the game, right? If you play online or play the Invasions game mode, you can just unlock shit. As long as you're doing one of those two, you can unlock more shit for your characters. You don't necessarily need the in-game premium currency to buy stuff. Now, yes, do they have their premium store where they charge a lot for these flashy fatalities and really unique skins? They do, and I'm not gonna pretend they don't. I'm not gonna sweep under the rug. They do. It's shitty. It is what it is. But there's still plenty you can unlock with just playing the game. by just doing invasions, just trying to complete like the daily tasks and whatnot, playing online, there's plenty you can still unlock through it. And I really like that. It's what's given me more incentive to come back to it. Now, do I believe that compared to the other fighting game on this list that this one does have the worst gameplay when comparing them? Yes, that's why it is ranked below it. But this game definitely gave me more incentive to come back to it. This game definitely made me want to keep playing it. Like after this game dropped, I was playing it for like a good solid month before once again more games came out that I gave higher priority towards, and then I just lost the time for it. But I genuinely do want to get back into it. I genuinely want to play more of it just because, like I said, there's an incentive to play more of it. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's a fighting game. The core judgment of the game should be on the gameplay, and it's fun, but I wouldn't say it's amazing, right? It's one of those experiences where like it can be fun, but also sometimes it can be absolute ass. Like good fighting games, like you'll enjoy even when you're losing, right? You'll enjoy even when you're getting your ass handed to you, you're still having fun with it. You can still find a way to have fun with it. I don't think that applies here to Mortal Kombat 1, not for me personally. When I'm in a really bad match and I'm just getting my shit rocked, I'm just kind of like, okay, come on, I'm fucking sick of this. You know? I think that's an important aspect. Not every fighting game is like that. Not every fighting game, you're going to have fun with even when you're not doing well. And this is definitely one of those ones where you're not going to have fun when you're not doing well. But with Mortal Kombat out of the way, let's get to number 6 and round off our back 5, which is the other fighting game in question, Street Fighter 6. Wait, did I actually put that at number 6? Holy shit, I did actually rank that at number 6. That was not intentional. Well, anyway, Street Fighter 6. Fun. Holy fuck, this game is fun. In terms of gameplay, Now, the Street Fighter series is not one that I'm a longtime fan of compared to Mortal Kombat. The only other Street Fighter game I have ever played was Street Fighter 2 on my cousin's SNES way back in the day. So, initially, I wasn't really that excited for it, but holy fuck, the marketing team knew what they were doing. The promotional material for this game was so good. It was clear there was so much style to this game. There was so much personality to this game. It looks so damn good. It is so damn good. This game is so much fucking fun. Like I mentioned with Mortal Kombat 1, it's a fighting game, so a big focus should be on the gameplay, and genuinely, the gameplay is a lot of fucking fun. Whether you play on Modern or Classic, I've messed around with both. It is so much fun. And like I said, even when I'm losing and getting my shit rocked, I'm still having fun with it. I'm still able to I still feel like I'm learning from it, and I feel like I'm able to actually improve. I genuinely have so much fun with this game. I talked about Mortal Kombat story mode. Let's talk about this one. Holy shit, Street Fighter 6 had World Tour, which is this giant ass RPG campaign, which guess what? I haven't finished it yet, but I have put plenty of time into it for sure. I've unlocked all but one of the masters that you can get in the game. I'm pretty sure I'm over leveled because like I said with Baldur's Gate 3, I'm someone who likes to do everything they can at every opportunity. So whenever there's a possibility for even the lowest level street fight, I'm like, I gotta do it. I have to. So I am a bit over leveled, but I think that's also helped me because I'm definitely not the best fighting game player around. But like I said, the gameplay in this one, so much damn fun. And story mode is a lot of fun because you have your avatar, which is a custom character, where as you work with these various masters, you can pick and choose various moves you want to incorporate into your own move set, and that in itself has been a lot of fun. Now, my problem with Street Fighter 6 is that, unlike Mortal Kombat 1, there's not a huge incentive to come back to it. Now, Street Fighter 6 has announced several collaborations and special event stuff, but the only way to get anything cool out of the game is through their in-game premium currency. you can't get cool shit just by playing the game. You can get like the secondary outfits for characters, but like that's it. Like there's nothing really cool you can get just by playing the game, because you don't ever earn any of the premium currency just by playing the game. You can only purchase it with your actual real world money. And Capcom and the Street Fighter team has been heavily criticized for the way they've chosen to monetize this game, whether it was their Ninja Turtle collab, whether it was the Outfit 3 fiasco. It clearly shows they're very money hungry and they're not trying to make things any easier on the consumer, which I feel like their level of monetization is definitely worse than what Mortal Kombat 1 has. Like, yes, Mortal Kombat has their premium currency and their premium shop as well, but like I said, there's still cool shit you can unlock just by playing the game. There's still cool skins and gear pieces to customize your characters that you can unlock while playing the game. The one up that Street Fighter 6 has over Mortal Kombat is, like I said, the gameplay. There's no cool cosmetic incentives for me to keep playing Street Fighter 6. There's no reason for me to be hyped about any of their collaborations or anything. But I genuinely come back to this game because it's just really fucking fun to play. Whether it's my mains or characters I never touch, just jumping into a fight with any of them is still so much fun because the game itself is so much damn fun to play. I genuinely really enjoy this game. I wish their monetization practices weren't as scummy as they are, but beggars can't be choosers. The game itself at the end of the day is fun. I'm still going to keep playing it, but I ain't buying any of y'all fucking microtransactions. Suck my dick. And now we get into our top 5 games of 2023. And guess what? I actually finished one. Hey, round of applause. Thank you. Coming in at number 5 is Hi-Fi Rush. Now, Hi-Fi Rush, I would say it was an unexpected one for me, but it was an unexpected one for a lot of people because this game just dropped out of fucking nowhere. Just one day, they said, hey, Tango Gameworks came out and said, hey, here's our new game. Play it. And guess what? I did. Holy fuck, I did. I was very interested off rip the moment it was announced, and then I had a lot of friends pick it up and said they were really enjoying it. It was a nice short experience. It's like around 10 hours long, or maybe even less than that. It's a very short experience, but good God, it is so fucking good. For those who don't know, Hi-Fi Rush is a rhythm combat game. You're fighting these waves of enemies, but you have to do it like to the beat of the music that's playing, right? Which is really fun. I enjoy rhythm games. I enjoy, general, action adventure games. So combining the two is a lot of fun. I know it's definitely not the first game to do that, but still, I love the way they did it. It is a lot of fun. The art style in this game is fucking gorgeous. I love the art in this game. It's amazing. The way the world looks, the way the characters work, the way the combat looks, it is so much fun. The combat itself is a lot of fun. All the various combos you can unlock, all the special moves you can unlock, fun as hell. The boss fights are fun as hell. I know I keep using the word fun, but good God, at the end of the day, that's the word I care about when it comes to games. Is it fun? And good God, Hi-Fi Rush is fun as hell. And then the soundtrack. It's a rhythm game, obviously. It's got to have a good soundtrack, and it has a phenomenal soundtrack. Whether you play with the licensed soundtrack or the streamer mode soundtrack, both the licensed and original soundtracks are fucking stellar. Fucking phenomenal. I love sometimes I just stop and listen. I'll be playing through, I'd be playing through a level and I just have to stop no, I need to appreciate this song. It's a damn good song. No, hold up. We can get back to beating up baddies in a bit. First, I gotta stop and vibe a little bit. Because the soundtrack is truly fucking stellar. This game, overall, is just absolutely phenomenal. I love this game. Highly recommend it. If you have not played it yet, you absolutely should. And coming in at number 4 is Like a Dragon Ishin. Now, technically, you can consider this one a this year but not, but this game is a full remake, whereas, this year but not is technically reserved for ports or remasters, which are, very much the same game. Now, Ishin was a remake of a game by the same name that was released in 2012, I believe. It's made by RGG Studio, which is the team obviously behind the Yakuza series, which is blatantly obvious once you play the game because all of the characters share the same face models as several other Yakuza characters. You take the role of the samurai trying to trying to track down and hunt his father's killer, and the story was phenomenal. I really enjoyed the story, one of my favorite aspects of it. The combat I found to be a lot of fun. There were 4 different styles. There was swordsman style, which was more focused on the blade. There was gunman style, which is more focused on the gun. God, who would have guessed? And then there was wild dancer, where you fought with a combination of both sword and gun combat. And then there was the brawler style, which was totally fucking useless, no reason to use it. But genuinely the combat was a lot of fun. It's classic RGG combat, essentially, like classic brawler combat, I should say, but now you have permanent weapons, whereas normally in like RGG combat, with at least with the beat 'em up style combat before they went JRPG with it, you could pick up weapons on occasion and use those. Like, nah, now you got constant weapons. You got a sword, you got a gun. You could use your fist, but it's fucking lame. It's no fun. You don't do near enough damage. It makes everything a whole fucking slog to get through if you try to play with brawler style. Genuinely do not play using brawler style. But in classic RGG fashion, there were plenty of mini games that I had a lot of fun with. Some of them I didn't, but most of them I had a lot of fun with. There were plenty of sub stories that I really enjoyed. Actually, yeah, no, I was gonna say all like this last one, like, oh, but some I didn't, but no, overall, they're like, I enjoyed the sub stories. They were a lot of fun. There was the whole mini game where you ran a farm with Haruka, which took up a lot of my time. I definitely put a lot of fucking time into this game because, like I said, I try to do like everything a game has to offer, and good God, RGG games have a lot to offer. And yeah, so I did a lot of fishing mini games. I did a lot of farming shit. I sold off a lot of things. I got all the pets. I was doing so much shit. That took a lot of time. Is it worth it? Overall, it was fun. I liked it. The story told across, I think it's called the My Life minigame, something like that. Or like Second Life, something like that. Nah, I don't fucking remember. But the farm sim with Haruka was fun. I enjoyed it. It was definitely a nice little break from the monotony of the combat. Because the combat, after a while, especially with the random encounters, you kind of fall into a groove, you know what you're doing. But, it was a nice little break from that. But what I will say for the combat is that the various styles were fun to use. Early on in the game, I thought I would lock myself into like one style of combat and not really use any of the others. But as the game progressed, I definitely found myself using more and more different styles. And, and when it came to those random encounters, it was fun just to like, I know if I stay in Wild Dancer, I can clear out this crowd easy. But what if I, switch to Gunman and try something a little different? It was fun to like experiment with the various styles and see what different stuff you could pull off. Yeah, overall it was just a really fucking good game. Really enjoyed it. Like, definitely up there as one of my favorite RGG titles. Like, I don't know if I'd put it in top 5, but top 10 for sure. Like, I'm talking overall RGG titles. Just really good. Really solid game. Really enjoyed it. Now, all that's left is our top 3, but as per usual, before we get into the top 3, we gotta talk about our honorable mentions. Normally, if there's a lot of games on the honorable mention list, I just kind of like read them off and then, show special attention to one in particular. But since there are only 3 on this list, I'll give all of them their due. So starting off the list on the honorable mentions is Astro's Playroom. For those of you who don't know, Astro's Playroom is essentially the tech demo for the PS5 controller that comes with all PS5s. And yes, I finally got a PS5 this year. And it's actually a really cute game. Like, I know the PS4 had like a similar like Astro-based thing that just kind of like showed off what the controller could do. But there really wasn't much more to it than like, oh look, you can shake the controller. Oh look, there's the touchpad. It was just like, play with the controller. Okay, that's it. With Astro's Playroom, there's like an actual game to it. There's an actual game here that you can play. There's these various worlds and levels to explore. It's actually surprisingly a lot of fun. For what is essentially a tech demo for the controller, it's genuinely a lot of fun. Surprise, surprise, have I finished playing it? You know I haven't. Um, but I have genuinely enjoyed it. It is one that I think I will, mess with in the future, because it's a decent time waster when you don't have a lot of time, but you want to play something. Oh hey, I'll load up Astro's Playroom, why not? It's fun. I enjoy it. It's cute. There's a lot of, references and callbacks to popular PlayStation titles. There's like this big gallery of achievements that like show off like all the history of PlayStation, which as a kid who's grown up on PlayStation consoles, it's nice to see all that love shown to the previous generations, from the original PlayStation all the way up to, the 5. It's very neat to see. I like seeing all the various references to all the characters from past titles. It's really neat. I really like it. The second honorable mention, almost number 1, but I just recently finished a game that would become the number 1 honorable mention, but regardless, I have to give this one its due for sure. The next honorable mention is Clannad. Now, Clannad is a visual novel that's been around for some time, but it's one I've definitely avoided for some time, simply because the art style was initially very off-putting to me. But eventually one day, one of my homies said, yo, hey, I was just like you. I thought the art style was a bit whack, but I gave it a chance, and I genuinely believe it's one of the best fucking visual novels out there. And this was a homie whose opinion usually counts for a lot to me. If they vouch for something, I really want to check it out. So this was the year where I finally sat down and I finally played Clannad, and good God, an amazing experience. Objectively, is it a 10 out of 10 perfect game? Oh no, far from it. There's some routes I definitely do not like. There's some characters I definitely do not like. But the experience, the actual experience of the game from start to finish is insane. It's insane. It's a phenomenal experience. There are some amazing routes. There are some amazing characters. There's a phenomenal cast of characters. Let's be honest. The cast, amazing. The stories, for the most part, they were all right. There were a few like downers that were just like, okay, this kind of sucks shit. But for the majority of them, they were either really fucking good or just very solid at the very least. The art style, I'm still not 100% on board with. I definitely got used to it, but in comparison to like a lot of other art styles, it's definitely far from my favorite. The soundtrack, it was alright. Nothing amazing that is incredibly memorable for me, but it was good. It was good. Definitely assisted the moments it needed to. So yeah, Clannad, very fucking solid game. I mean, I can't imagine most people haven't played it by now, but if you're one of those people like me who still haven't played it, I definitely recommend it. Whatever it is that may be turning you away from playing it, I highly recommend you check it out. I've had a lot of fun with it. But now it is time for the number 1 honorable mention, our second winner of the Golden Butterfly Award, and that is Monster Road Trip. Now, I've been following the Monster Prom games for quite some time. I don't even remember why I started playing the first game, but it eventually came to my attention. I gave it a shot and I fell in love with it. And several years ago, when Beautiful Glitch started their Kickstarter for the Monster Prom sequels, I 100% hopped on it ASAP. I loved the first game and I was very excited to see what they could make. Then they came out with Monster Camp, which was the sequel to Monster Prom, which played very similarly to Monster Prom, but just in a different setting. And now with their third game, Monster Road Trip, they've really switched up the formula a bit. Not only is the setting different, they've also really switched up the gameplay. It's no longer just a dating sim, right? Before it was just like, no, you're trying to get a date. That's all it's about. But now it's about going on this road trip with your friends. Romance is possible, but it's more so about like sharing this journey with your friends and going on this adventure, and you like manage your resources along the way, and the scenarios are just as zany and silly as ever. But I genuinely love that we just kind of explore a lot of these characters without focusing too much on the romance aspect of it. I love how you can't really fail a lot of the interactions. Like, it's just whether or not what stat gets affected. In Monster Prom and Camp, you could fail certain interactions. Like, you could just full stop, just fail it. But with this one, it's not about that. It's just about like what resource you're going to gain, what resource you're going to lose, so on and so forth. So I like how, like, no matter what choice you pick, you're still going to get like an interesting scenario out of it, whether it's silly, goofy, or on the rare occasion a bit, heartfelt. It's still a lot of fun. I genuinely love, and I think the resource management of it is a lot more fun than what I've experienced with the previous two Monster Prom games. Like, obviously, I greatly enjoyed those games, but I don't know, the gameplay of this one I've enjoyed a lot more. So the base game has just been a lot of fun. Genuinely a lot of fun. I love the zaniness of it. I love the cast of characters, both recurring and new. I love the sense of humor that the writing team has. I love the art style of this game, absolutely. But I think what really solidified it as a fucking phenomenal 10 out of 10 game for me was the update they just released in August of this year, which was the End of the Road update. Now, the End of the Road is kind of takes a sharp detour from, what the main game is. The main game is meant to be silly, zany, and goofy, but End of the Road takes on a much more serious tone, and it covers a lot of, serious topics. And a big, focus of it was like the legacy you leave behind when you're gone, and like how other people remember you, about how there's a lot more complexities to everyday people than just how they appear on the surface. A lot of it's told by just using these fictional characters, but then you also have essentially the voice of the writer chiming in during the story, giving his take on like, how his creations are going to continue to exist even when he's gone, even if they're not the same character as he once created. Eventually these characters are going to take on a life of their own, and they're going to live on well past, when he's there. And I think that's, just true in general for just life in general. This End of the Road update really posed a lot of questions, like this real, it was told using, like I said, it was told using fictional characters, but the applications it had to life in general was really cool to think about. Some people might not like to think about that kind of thing, but I think it's really neat shit to think about. He talked about legacy, what you leave behind, how people are going to remember you, that sort of stuff. And then, like, also about, like, how memories fade away and how, eventually you're just going to forget some things. And you're going to, he used the analogy of, like, the time loop that essentially the game is, where it's like, each time you start anew and you make new memories along the way. And he equated it to, like, yeah, eventually certain memories are going to fade from your memory, right? Like, you don't remember things when you were, like, mundane activities from when you were, like, 10 years old. But, as you, experience new things in the present day, these more fresh memories will take the place and stay, up front in your memory, whereas these older experiences slowly start to fade away. But yet, the things that really leave an impact will always stick with you regardless. Like, you're not going to remember what you ate for lunch when you were 10 years old, right? But you will remember this very big, important event. Maybe it was a birthday, maybe it was a holiday, maybe it was none of those. Maybe it was just an ordinary day, but something unordinary happened, and it's something you still remember. And just talking about, like, how, your memories, how, like, mundane things start to fade away, and you realize that, there's so many things you won't remember. Like, because he talked about that in the game of being like, one day people won't remember this game. One day, enough time will have passed. People may enjoy it now. People may praise it now, but one day, none of it will matter because it'll just fade out of their memories. And you can absolutely apply that to the real world of, like, yeah, you could be really enjoying something right now. You could be having a great day right now. You could be out having, spending time with your friends, having a good time. But if there's not a lot of impact there, eventually even that really good time you had will slowly start to fade from your memories. It made, for those of you who were around to experience it, it reminded me a lot of Unis Honest, the channel that Markiplier and Ethan Nestor ran for a while, and about how, you know, that whole channel's point was about like the impermanence of life and how, you know, things end. But it's made me think about like recently they experienced, what was it, the 3-year anniversary of the channel, or the 3-year anniversary of the death of the channel, I should say. And like I could see in the comments of like a lot of people being like, wow, there's so many things I truly have forgotten. Like, you remember those big important moments, but like, yo, the filler moments in between, it's like a lot of those things, like not quite sure what they were anymore. The fact that this silly zany game can just turn around and pose all this existential shit. Like I said, for some people it might be too much. It might be too much to think about. Maybe they don't want to think about those kind of things, and I understand. But for me it was really cool, because I feel like it tackled the subjects very well, and it really made me think, and I really liked it. I really liked it. Overall, I really liked it. It gave me a greater appreciation of, yo, the team behind these games. It gave me a greater appreciation behind, yo, the characters they've created. It really just gave me a greater appreciation for just a lot of things in general. Like I said, it's just one that really made me, you know, stop and think about things and reflect on certain things. And it's, yeah, long story short, this game was fucking stellar, 10 out of 10. But with our honorable mentions out of the way, it is time to get to the top 3 games that I enjoyed in 2023. So rounding off our list at number 3 is Spider-Man 2. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man. I fucking love Spider-Man. Easily my favorite superhero of all time across any comic book universe. I fucking love Spider-Man. And obviously I greatly enjoyed Insomniac's first Spider-Man game back in 2018. And ever since then, I've been very excited for this sequel. Very, very excited. Obviously, in between the first game and second game, they released the Miles Morales spin-off game, which I still stand by, fucking phenomenal. That's a 10 out of 10 game. You can't tell me it isn't. So after that, I was incredibly excited for this sequel, knowing that we'd have both Peter and Miles coming to this game. I mean, obviously, I put it at number 3. No, I greatly enjoyed this game. I thought it was I genuinely had a lot of fun with it. I loved the extra movesets that they added to each character. Yo, Miles had his standard like Venom moveset, but then like as he inherited powers from Mr. Negative, he got, yo, all these different abilities. Same with Peter. Once he interacted with the symbiote, he got these various symbiote abilities in addition to his regular Spider-Man abilities. So I like how they expanded, yo, the ability pool of the Spider-Man. The new traversal options were interesting. I like the slingshot and like the tall buildings to help you like get across like to help you get from island to island, so you're not constantly having to swing along the bridge. The story was pretty solid. I like this new take on Venom. I still prefer like original Venom, obviously. Just the original setup. I know I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, Eddie Brock's the only Venom I care about. But I do like that setup of Venom. This setup of Venom was interesting. Not my favorite, but it was interesting. I did like it. I did like it overall. The story told, once again, I keep going back to interesting, and it was interesting. It wasn't my favorite Spider-Man story ever told, but I did really like it. I think what I truly enjoyed out of this, honestly, was some of the side stories. Like, there's a side story where you explore like Mysterio and his rehabilitation and what he's done since he's, left prison and whatnot. And like the bias people will always have because he did something, because he was a villain, but even when he tries to do something good, people still hold this bias against him. And I really like one of the lines that really stuck with me from that side story is, after you finish it, he says something along the lines of, Mysterio will always be a villain just as Spider-Man will always be a hero. It's when you look behind the masks that things get messy. And I think that's really interesting. Like, this public persona that's put up on a pedestal, once the general public has an opinion of them, regardless of how they act behind the scenes, a lot of people are just going to have that public image of them. So like, I love it when stories do this, right? I love how, they have these moments that that can not only apply to this fictional world, but you can actually take it and reapply it to the outside world, as to the real world as well. I really like that. The Flame side story is really fucking great. My favorite villain, my favorite Spider-Man villain of all time is Carnage. So very happy they're setting up Carnage. I don't know if he's going to be in a story expansion or maybe for the third game that they're setting up. But knowing Carnage is around the corner, I'm fucking hyped. That's my guy. Just overall, this was a solid game. Like I said, the story is probably the weakest part of it. But at the end of the day, it is a comic book video game. A lot of people just really want to see the action behind it, and I think the gameplay was phenomenal. And there were still good story moments as well. Like I said, the side stories were phenomenal. And there were definitely good moments in the main story as well. Not trying to say there weren't any good moments. There definitely were. But easily the lowest part of it. But even as the lowest part of it, it was still solid, really good. Overall, stellar game. I loved it. Alright, so I know last year my number one pick was a game that I had not finished. It was God of War Ragnarok, right? So I know what you're thinking. Am I going to repeat that? No, I'm going to do you one better. The top two are both games I have not finished. But they have both blown me away with how good they are, that I know I'm going to love these games no matter how they finish. So coming in at number 2 is The Talos Principle 2. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Talos Principle was a puzzle game that was released a few years ago. It was once again one of those games I just happened to see on sale, decided to pick it up and give it a try. And I'm so glad I did. It's a very interesting puzzle game that explored like the nature of what it meant to be human, as this artificial intelligence within this simulation tried to learn what it truly meant to be human. Very, very interesting game, and the puzzles were a lot of fun. Even the ones that I had difficulty with, that I eventually had to turn to a guide to figure out, I still had legitimately a lot of fun with them. And the Talos Principle 2 is very interesting as well, but interesting in a very good way. So whereas in the Talos Principle 1, you were the only person, you were the only like sentient being around. You were the only one that truly, you were the first one to make it out into the real world. And now in the Talos Principle 2, this takes place, I think, like a solid millennia later, I think is what they said. It took like 1,000 years, something like that. And this first person who came to the real world brought their knowledge with them and crafted even more of these synthetic beings. And now there's this thriving population, and you, the protagonist, are the most recent being to be born, to be created. And I think what's cool about the story they tell with this, at least what they've told so far, is like how you're this person with like this fresh slate, this clear mind who knows really nothing about the world, and instead you have to learn everything from other people, but you also have to be able to differentiate facts from opinion. You have to take some people's words with a grain of salt, knowing that you don't know the truth behind a lot of these moments either. And it's a story that really prides itself in like hammering in the point that you have to form your own opinions. As you're introduced to the world, you have to form your own opinions on how you feel about things. Are you just going to follow in someone's shadow and be like, oh, well, I like this person, they say I should think this way, I'm going to think this way? Or are you going to take bits and pieces from everyone? Are you going to try to like compare to see how this person feels about this, how this person feels about this? What's this person's connection to that person and this person's connection to that person, and how should that factor in my opinion? How should that factor in their opinions and what they say back to me? It's a very, very interesting game. And obviously there's still the puzzle element. The puzzles are still a hell of a lot of fun. I like a lot of the new tools they've introduced, and I've only scratched the surface. I think I'm on like the 4th island out of like 10? 8 or 10, something like that. I think it's 10 because I don't think I'm quite halfway through the game. But the puzzles themselves, absolutely fun. The actual gameplay of it is very fun. But I love what the story is trying to do, and how it's telling you like how difficult it is essentially to be what is essentially a child in this universe, and how you have to decide what you want to believe and what you don't, how you have to decide who you want to trust and who you don't, when you know truly nothing about the world around you, and you have to just piece together what you can get, and you have to just piece together from the resources you find. They've even added like essentially a social media to this world where like all the citizens that have been, all these synthetic citizens that have been created, like post online, and you also have to, form your own opinions based off of what you see off this social media. So they even add like the social media aspect into this story, which is very interesting because yes, in the modern day, a lot of kids are going to get a lot of information from social media, whether it's true or not, and how difficult it is to factor out what's real, what isn't, what you should and shouldn't believe. I just think it's a very interesting game about forming your own beliefs as a person and how different that is for every individual. Very, very fucking interesting game. And I love at the end of this, I say all this existential shit about it. It's a puzzle game. You're just fucking putting blocks on platforms and connecting lasers. But in the meantime, you're being told this incredibly, incredibly wild story that is very, very good. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this one ends. I don't know if the videos will come out by the time this one does, but I have been doing this one for a daily playthrough, and this is the first game in years that I've actually stockpiled recordings for because I just want to keep playing more. Not only because I enjoy the gameplay of it, but because I am just so hooked on where this story is going to go and how everything's going to come together. And finally, last but certainly not least, the number one game I played in 2023 goes to Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Now, like I mentioned with Ishin, I'm a longtime RGG fan. I absolutely adore these games, and Gaiden, Gaiden is like a true love letter for all the fans of Kiryu and those who have played through his story. It really is. Like, I know with Yakuza 7, they were trying to set up like the fact that Ichiban is going to be like the new protagonist, and they're kind of trying to like phase out Kiryu and his group of people. And I think that's what they're trying to finalize with the 8th game coming up here in the near future. But I like Gaiden because, it's that return to the beat-em-up combat that I personally love. I personally prefer over the JRPG combat. But, like, it's full of just not only the main story, but the sub-stories as well. The even the mini-games. It's just all these callbacks and references. It's just a giant love letter to essentially 0 through 6. The entire Kiryu saga. And it really, makes you reflect on not only Kiryu's experiences, but, you as a player, your own experiences throughout this series. How you felt about all these various moments. It really is, it's almost like a big trip down memory lane. And then it all comes together with the events of 7, and then moves a little bit past that, and sets you up for the 8th game coming up here, like I said, coming up in the near future. So the story has been phenomenal. I've enjoyed it so far. Really been loving it. The gameplay, it's fun. There's two styles. There's Agent and Yakuza style. Like I mentioned in Ishin, I didn't want to get locked into one style, which is essentially what has happened with Gaiden. I pretty much only play an Agent style. I haven't like upgraded anything for Yakuza style. I rarely switch to it for anything, even for like boss fights where you think like, oh yeah, the more one-on-one does more damage kind of style. I'm like, nah, I'll stick with Agent. I feel like there's more fun I can do with this. But even with Agent, like there's 4 different gadgets you get. I use 2 of them sometimes. Like there's definitely some extra stuff in this game, but when it comes to like the main combat of it, but it's still fun. Obviously the mini games are a lot of fun, except for Mahjong. Still fucking hate Mahjong. I played a bit of it, and I'm starting to actually learn a bit more of it, but I don't want to. I'm getting really fucking sick of Mahjong. But there's karaoke, there's Pocket Circuit, there's the hostess clubs. Not running a hostess club, but attending to the hostess club. You need to interact with the hostesses. I know a lot of people didn't like the live action hostesses. I think it's fine. I actually discovered a fucking new streamer that I enjoy watching because of the hostess clubs. Fucking Kokoro Nakayama. She has her own fucking channel where she's done playthroughs of all the RGG games. And while, yeah, she only speaks Japanese, so I've had to download an extension to help translate that, like, I genuinely love her energy so much. I loved her vibes during the Hostess cutscene so much that, like, yeah, I've been watching her playthroughs of RGG games just because she impressed me that much in this game. But the mini games, for the most part, fun as hell. The new, all the characters, both new and recurring characters they've added to it, phenomenal. Akame has quickly become one of my fucking favorite RGG characters. Kind of makes me sad that we probably won't see much of her in the future. She seems to be kind of, stuck to this game. But I'd be more than happy if, RGG would like to prove me wrong. If you'd like to bring Akame back, hey, what's good? Let's do that, But yeah, no, this game has been a lot of fun. It's classic RGG. It's kind of what I've been missing from RGG. Like, Yakuza 7, it was decent, right? I mean, the story was really good, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the combat. Of course, I know that's coming back in 8. Ishin was fun as well. I enjoyed it, but like this return to like classic Yakuza form as like a good send-off for like Kiryu and his whole story. It's been really nice. It's been really nice. I really enjoyed it. As a fan of these games, it's really done a lot for me. It's really, struck a chord with me. I really loved it. It's really made me think about these last, 3 years since I've started playing these games, and like just the experiences I've had with them up to this point. It's been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, number one, like I said, I haven't finished it quite yet.
What's up, guys? Editing IPlayVidya from the future. And just like last year, in between recording and editing this video, I did manage to finish my number one game of the year. So let me talk about this game with my complete thoughts. Now for one, is this game still my number one game of the year? Absolutely. Absolutely. No question about it. 100%. Now let's talk about it. Like a Dragon Gaiden to me, feels like a very heartfelt farewell to the Yakuza saga of the Like a Dragon series. I've seen some, media outlets call this an excellent entry point to the series. To me personally, that couldn't be further from the truth. I feel like having played 0 through 6 and having the background knowledge of those games, I feel like a lot of the emotional impact in the main story would not hit near as hard for anyone who's not familiar with the story, as well as the various references and callbacks in the side content as well. A lot of that would go over a lot of people's heads. I feel like this game was truly meant for the people who have played through Kiryu's entire story up to this point. And I think it's done very, very well. Infinite Wealth is seemingly looking to be our final farewell to Kiryu, but Gaiden really feels like a farewell to the Yakuza saga of games. Because as we know, going forward, the Yakuza series now being relabeled in the West as the Like a Dragon series, is going to be focusing now on the JRPG combat over the classic beat-em-up style. It's going to be focusing on Ichiban, his story, his friends, and the stories they have from here on out. And clearly Infinite Wealth is trying to officially write out Kiryu. And Gaiden feels like one last goodbye to the classic RGG formula, right? The classic beat-em-up style, Kiryu as the protagonist, multiple styles you can switch between. Obviously in Gaiden it's just 2 styles, but still the ability to switch styles. And I know that they plan on continuing the beat-em-up style with the Judgment series, but there's even a nod to that in Gaiden. There is a point where Kiryu meets Kaito and Higashi from Judgment, and he gives them like his little nod of approval, right? So there's even like a nod to the fact that Judgment is still continue to carry like the beat 'em up style combat that we're used to. And I think that's really neat, but even just within the side content, there's so many references and callbacks to previous games. The main story does a good job of, not only maintaining the continuity from, 6 and 7, but also building up a lot of anticipation for what's to come in Infinite Wealth. I feel like it did an excellent job of that. I love a lot of the new characters that were introduced. Quotation marks on new. Some of them are apparently older characters. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, Akame, one of the new characters to the series. I love her. She's amazing. I truly hope she makes an appearance in Infinite Wealth. I truly hope I get to see more of her. She was amazing. I want more Akame. I instantly fell in love with this character. But Hanawa and Shishido were also phenomenal characters that I really enjoyed watching their stories unfold. Now, the gameplay itself was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's the classic beat-em-up combat that we're used to. There's two styles similar to Judgment. However, unlike Judgment, I kind of find myself stuck to one style, kind of what I feared would happen with like a Dragon Ishin. But this new style was something like truly new, right? It added a lot more new things you could do, and I think that's why I stuck with it more instead of trying to switch back and forth between the two, because the new style, Agent style, with the addition of all the gadgets you can use and whatnot, really gave it something, really added something new to the game and was a lot of fun. The Yakuza style was alright, but I never found myself feeling the need to use it. I'm pretty sure the only time I ever used it really was the Amon fight, which, speaking of, this is only the second game I've ever bothered to do 100% of all the side content and the Amon fight, the first of which was Judgment. This is also the first RGG game I've ever 100%ed, mainly because it is a very easy game to 100%. However, it's still something you have to, kind of go out of your way to get all the achievements. But for me, it was absolutely worth it. I had an absolute blast playing it. As per usual, it's an RGG game. The soundtrack was fucking phenomenal, especially that final boss theme. Final boss themes 9 times out of 10 are going to fuck hard in an RGG game, and Gaiden was no exception. The side content was a lot of fun. I typically enjoy all the things they add to this game. The mini games were still a lot of fun. They brought back Pocket Circuit, which was fun. Which, I like Pocket Circuit, but which also featured a cameo from our favorite Pocket Circuit fighter, which also is yet another reference and callback to previous entries. Overall, this game is just so fucking stellar. I'm choosing not to drop a lot of spoilers because so many of these moments, they just hit so hard, and it's because I've seen the whole journey, right? I've seen Kiryu's entire story from start to finish. I've been there. I've seen everything. So seeing, this wrap up to Kiryu's story as the sole protagonist, it hit. It really did. Especially that final scene. Anyone who's played the game is going to know that final scene. I mean, okay, technically it's not the final scene, but the final scene in the temple, which is one that was shown in the trailer, that hurt. That hurt. And just knowing that that's kind of like the beginning of what Infinite Wealth is going to give us, I'm both excited and scared for what Infinite Wealth is going to hit me with. But regardless, Gaiden was a fucking phenomenal game. Legitimately, my only complaint with it would be the fact that I didn't feel the need to switch between the styles. I never felt like I wanted to. Never felt like trying out the other style. Agent style was more than enough for me, but I appreciate that the option was there. Like I said, that in itself is a nice callback to previous games, because for Kiryu's story, there hasn't been style switching for quite some time. 0 and Kiwami 1 were the only times where Kiryu actually swapped between styles. With 4 and 5, you had different protagonists who essentially had different styles, but Kiryu himself hasn't swapped between styles since, the first game, essentially. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Kiryu's been rocking this, his style throughout that whole time. But, so being able to switch styles again as Kiryu was a nice little touch, even if I didn't use them all that much. But yeah, I could go on and on about how much I enjoyed this game. It was phenomenal. Absolutely stellar. I think this is a good wrap up to, the Kiryu saga, right? This isn't the end of Kiryu's story, but it's a good wrap up to all the games that introduced us to them, to that era of the Like a Dragon series. Like I said, it really feels like a heartfelt farewell to that era of the series, and I feel like it lands very, very well.
But there you have it, folks. That is going to do it for me and my favorite games of 2023. Now, if 2024 would like to take a breather and calm down a bit, I'd appreciate that. I don't know if you were paying attention, but I got a lot of games I gotta catch up on, man. But what's next in store for me in 2024? Obviously, there were 2 RGG games on this list. I'm playing Infinite Wealth when it drops, which is also why I'm kind of in a hurry to get Gaiden wrapped up. So that way, I'm not fucking already waiting once Infinite Wealth comes out. So that's the big one that I'm excited for next year. Next year, I also have some replays that I'm more focused on. I mentioned one of them already, Cyberpunk. I really want to finish my replay of that. I really want to experience all that they've added to this game, not only with the Phantom Liberty expansion, but also what they've added with the 2.0 and 2.1 updates. I really want to see all there is to it, so I really want to get a playthrough of that done. But one I'm more in particularly focused about is currently I've been working on a 100% playthrough of the Mass Effect trilogy, more specifically the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Because in September of 2024, it'll mark the 10-year anniversary of when I first played the Mass Effect trilogy, which, for those of you who don't know, are my favorite games of all time. To this day, 10 years later, damn near 10 years later, still my favorites. Nothing has topped them for me. I absolutely love these games. So to celebrate, I've been wanting to make sure I have the Legendary Edition 100%ed by the time September rolls around. So that's definitely something I'm going to be focusing on. It's definitely going to be my main focus after I finish Infinite Wealth. Outside of that, I know there's the Persona 3 remake, which I'm interested in. There's the Yes Your Grace sequel that I'm interested in. But those ones are definitely lower priority. I'll definitely get to those ones when I can. But for now, my priority is definitely those 3 right there. Infinite Wealth plus my Cyberpunk and Mass Effect replays. As for what's coming next for the channel, I know I've teased it a bit in the community tab if you haven't been checking there. Baldur's Sky eventually. I said I would do it, and I will do it. I just want to play some shorter games in the meantime, so that way I'm not stuck playing the same game for half a year again, like I just did with Clanad. But yeah, Baldur's Sky definitely coming, but also look forward to some of the shorter playthroughs that I'll be doing in the meantime. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I already mentioned that Talos Principle 2 is around the corner. If it hasn't already come out yet, I don't know when I'm going to finish editing this video. Maybe it's already started. I don't know. But regardless, that is going to do it for me this year. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts, notes, like to share, any feedback, any games you think I missed out on, any games that from this list you disagree with their placements on, by all means, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to hear from you. But that's going to do it for me. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see y'all next year. Until then, peace.